I wake each morning to the gentle glow of a new day, where the boundaries of time seem to blur into the soft hues of early light. My name is Samantha, and in this small town, nestled between rolling fields and the endless whispers of the nearby sea, life follows an unhurried rhythm that feels both sacred and safe. Every dawn, I lace up my sneakers and set out for my daily run along the winding boardwalk. The rhythmic sound of my feet meeting the pavement, the cool embrace of the crisp air, and the distant murmur of the waves create a symphony that fills my heart with a quiet joy. In those moments, the world is reduced to simple truths: the beauty of movement, the comfort of routine, and the promise of a day unspoiled by chaos. My mornings are a private celebration of small wonders. I watch the sun stretch its golden fingers over the horizon, bathing the quaint buildings and cobblestone streets in a warm, ethereal light. Each breath of fresh, salty air brings with it a sense of renewal, a subtle reminder that even in the quietest moments, life pulses with endless possibility. After my run, I return home to tend to my little garden, a modest patch of earth behind a charming ivy-clad cottage. Here, amid rows of fragrant herbs and carefully nurtured blooms, I find solace. My fingers trace the delicate petals of a newly bloomed rose, and I feel an unspoken kinship with nature's own resilient beauty. As the day unfolds, I retreat into the comforting solitude of my well-worn armchair, a book resting in my lap. The pages transport me to distant worlds, yet I remain anchored by the tender familiarity of my own story, a narrative built on quiet moments and gentle rituals. Evenings are spent in reflective silence, a time when the soft glow of a lamp mingles with the aroma of freshly brewed tea, casting long shadows that seem to dance along the walls of my humble abode. In these sacred intervals, my thoughts wander freely, occasionally stirring up long dormant desires for change, even as the steady pulse of my everyday life whispers reassurance. This delicate balance between contentment and the hint of unexplored dreams sets the stage for the unfolding drama of my heart, a drama that, unbeknownst to me, will soon disrupt the peaceful cadence of my existence. One unremarkable afternoon, as the golden light began to stretch shadows across my little garden, an unexpected message arrived, a dinner invitation that would nudge the boundaries of my carefully structured life. Robert, my devoted partner, had extended an invitation to join him at the home of his old colleague Bryce and his wife Nicole. The venue was a renovated farmhouse on the outskirts of our town, a place where the rustic charm of yesteryear met the contemporary comforts of a modern home. The invitation itself was imbued with a subtle promise, an evening filled with delightful conversation, warm laughter, and the intoxicating aroma of freshly baked bread that lingered even in written words. The very idea of venturing beyond my habitual confines stirred an unfamiliar anticipation in me. While my mornings were serenely spent amid the gentle rhythms of nature and solitary musings, this dinner held the potential of an adventure, a brief yet profound interruption to the quiet cadence of my life. I envisioned the farmhouse, a structure that had seen the passage of time, now lovingly restored, where every creak of the wooden floor and every beam whispered tales of generations past. Its windows, large and inviting, promised a glimpse of the lush, sprawling countryside that lay beyond the manicured hedges. As evening approached, a mix of curiosity and gentle trepidation took root in my heart. Robert, ever the gracious host, spoke warmly of Bryce's charisma and the inviting ease that seemed to define every corner of his home. There was something about the way he described the setting, a space where conversations meandered as freely as the winding country road, and where the delicate scent of oven-fresh pastries set the stage for heartfelt exchanges, that compelled me to accept the invitation. Even as a part of me clung to the comforting predictability of my daily routines, another part began to yearn for something more, a taste of spontaneity, of change. The drive to the farmhouse was a journey in itself, where every mile peeled away layers of my routine until I arrived at a place that felt both foreign and intimately welcoming. The farmhouse's exterior, with its weathered stone and gently peeling paint, bore witness to a storied past, yet its interior exuded a warmth that made it impossible not to feel at home. The air was rich with the fragrance of herbs and the lingering sweetness of baked treats. With every step into this new realm, the soft hum of conversation and the clinking of delicate china hinted at the promise of an evening that could alter the course of my inner world. Stepping into the softly lit dining room, I couldn't help but feel the stir of anticipation mingled with a quiet uncertainty. There, across the room, stood Bryce, a man whose presence immediately dominated the space with an effortless charm. His confident gaze, a steady blend of warmth and mystery, seemed to speak directly to me, drawing my attention in a way I hadn't anticipated. Bryce carried himself with an understated elegance. His every movement was deliberate yet natural, as though he were completely at ease in the midst of any gathering. His smile, subtle but inviting, hinted at stories untold and emotions carefully guarded, leaving me both intrigued and slightly unsettled. From the moment our eyes met, I sensed an unspoken connection that defied the calm order of my routine. Bryce's refined manner of speaking, laced with gentle humor and insightful observations, made his every word seem as though it carried a secret invitation, a promise of undiscovered dimensions in a life I thought I fully knew. While Robert's reassuring presence maintained the familiar cadence of my world, Bryce introduced a refreshing contrast. His approach was raw and genuine, stirring in me long forgotten feelings and an inner yearning for something beyond the predictable. As the evening unfolded, Bryce approached me with a confidence that was both disarming and magnetic. His conversation was laced with genuine interest in the details of my daily life, from the serene mornings spent on my solitary runs along the boardwalk to the nurturing care of my little garden. Every subtle compliment and thoughtful remark made me feel seen in a way that was both exhilarating and unnerving. There was no pretense in his words, only a sincere curiosity and a warmth that gently chipped away at the walls I had built around my heart. I found myself caught in the duality of my emotions, the comfort of familiarity that Robert provided, and the enticing allure of change represented by Bryce's vibrant presence. In that moment, the room seemed to shrink around us, every sound and light focusing on the silent, burgeoning dialogue that passed between glances and smiles. Bryce's ability to evoke such deep, almost primal emotions with his mere presence left me both breathless and contemplative, as if my inner world was awakening to a possibility I had long kept at bay. That first encounter was not just a meeting, it was an awakening. In the midst of the softly murmuring dinner and the gentle clink of glasses, Bryce ignited within me a spark of recognition, a reminder that life's true essence sometimes lies hidden in the unexpected, in the quiet moments when the soul dares to whisper its secret desires. The dinner progressed with a series of lively exchanges that filled the cozy dining room with a gentle hum of conversation. As the evening wore on and the clinking of cutlery merged with soft laughter, our discussion drifted naturally to the subjects of passions and hidden hobbies. In that moment, amidst an atmosphere of warmth and mutual curiosity, the conversation found its way to my lifelong love for gardening. I spoke of the small joys that arose from nurturing my garden, the thrill of watching delicate blooms unfold, and the quiet pride I felt when rare specimens flourished under my care. Unexpectedly, Bryce's gaze softened as he leaned forward with a quiet intensity that immediately captured my full attention. His voice, low and sincere, broke into the conversation with a question that was both unassuming and disarming. He asked for my advice on caring for a particularly elusive species of orchid, one known for its temperamental beauty and rarity. In that instant, the dining room seemed to shrink around us, isolating the moment to a space where nothing else mattered except the earnest exchange of thoughts about something so seemingly mundane, yet so profoundly intimate. His request, laced with genuine interest, struck a chord deep within me. It was as if Bryce's inquiry was more than a mere practical question. It was an invitation to share a piece of my soul, a subtle confession of the passion that lay hidden behind my reserved exterior. I explained with careful detail the delicate balance of moisture, light, and gentle care these orchids required, describing the quiet rituals that had become a meditative dance in my daily life. My words, infused with both expertise and personal sentiment, flowed freely, each sentence revealing more than just horticultural advice. It was a glimpse into my inner world, where every blossom symbolized hope and renewal. As I spoke, I felt a flutter of excitement, an unexpected surge of connection that transcended the simple act of conversation. Bryce listened intently, his eyes reflecting a sincere admiration that made my heart race with both anticipation and a tinge of apprehension. With every step, the path beneath our feet became a metaphor for the journey I was reluctantly beginning to traverse. The soft murmurs of Bryce's confessions, intermingled with my own tentative revelations, stirred a cascade of emotions I had long kept at bay. In the quiet intimacy of that evening, the park transformed into a cocoon of possibility. Our hands brushed briefly, a spark in the cool night that left me both breathless and trembling with anticipation. As the night deepened and the last vestiges of light surrendered to darkness, the boundaries between past and future blurred. I sensed that this walk, so simple yet profoundly transformative, was a turning point, a silent, unspoken promise that change was not only inevitable, but beautifully necessary. In the days that followed our midnight walk, subtle yet profound signals began to weave themselves into the tapestry of my daily life. Every shared glance and quiet smile carried a meaning beyond words, a language of its own that only Bryce and I seemed to understand. It wasn't in overt declarations or dramatic gestures that our connection was built, but rather in the soft, almost imperceptible moments that spoke volumes about our inner worlds. One crisp morning, while the town still slumbered under a delicate veil of mist, I found myself unexpectedly pausing at the local cafe. There, as fate would have it, I caught sight of Bryce seated by a window, immersed in a book, his profile etched with an expression of thoughtful reverie. Our eyes met for a fleeting second, a moment so brief that it could have been dismissed as coincidence, yet it held an electric charge that resonated with the memory of our recent conversations. His gaze, warm and inviting, seemed to bridge the distance between the silent yearning of my heart and the unspoken dreams that lay hidden beneath his calm exterior. Later that day, as we crossed paths in the narrow streets of town, a quiet understanding passed between us. In the midst of a bustling crowd, Bryce's hand brushed mine as we both reached for the same piece of information on an old, faded map displayed in a local bookshop. The accidental touch lingered, as if time itself had paused to honor the significance of that moment. It wasn't just physical contact, it was a silent acknowledgement of the connection that had grown between us, an affirmation that the spark ignited during that fateful evening was far from fleeting. Our subsequent encounters were punctuated by similar understated exchanges, whether it was a shared laugh over a trivial remark or a momentary pause when our eyes met across a busy room. These instances quietly testified to an unspoken pact. There was an elegance in the way Bryce would sometimes look away, as if contemplating words too delicate to voice, while I would find solace in his soft smile, a smile that seemed to understand the complexities of my heart without a single word spoken. Each subtle sign, from the warmth of his fleeting touch to the thoughtful intensity of his gaze, built upon the unvoiced language of mutual understanding. These moments, both fragile and potent, whispered promises of a deeper intimacy, a connection that transcended the boundaries of routine and safety. In the quiet interstices between our days, I began to sense that something profound was unfolding, a slow but steady convergence of two souls ready to embrace a future filled with both uncertainty and the quiet thrill of possibility. After that luminous evening of whispered secrets and hesitant touches, the days that followed brought a restless storm within me, a tumult of emotions I had never known before. Each sunrise, once a gentle promise of routine, now revealed fragments of doubt and longing. In the early quiet hours, as I tended to my garden, every petal and leaf seemed to echo the conflicting beat of my heart, a reminder of Bryce's tender glance and the warmth of his hand that brushed mine, juxtaposed with the steadfast, comforting presence of Robert. Every moment of the day was marked by an undercurrent of internal disarray. I found myself constantly reliving that hushed conversation in the park and the small, meaningful gestures exchanged between Bryce and me. My mind, usually a repository of serene memories and predictable patterns, had become a battleground of desires. The yearning for the wild, uncharted territories of passion, and the security of a love that had been my anchor for so long. Each time I closed my eyes, I could almost feel the tender pressure of Bryce's gaze and hear the soft murmur of his confessions, which clashed with the familiarity of my safe everyday life. At night, the darkness magnified the cacophony of my thoughts. I would lie awake, the silence punctuated by the soft hum of my own breathing, and wonder if the intensity of this newfound attraction was a fleeting mirage or the herald of a deeper change in my soul. My heart oscillated between the excitement of embracing the unpredictable and the anxiety of abandoning the comfort that Robert offered. It was as if I were standing on the edge of a precipice, with one foot in the known past and the other trembling toward an uncertain future. In every reflection, be it in a window at dusk or the glimmering surface of a pond, I saw a woman torn between two worlds. This inner turmoil was both a source of anguish and a spark of liberation, urging me to confront truths I had long evaded. As the days blurred into restless nights, the escalating disarray within me promised that an inevitable reckoning was near, a moment when the heart's hidden longings would either find their voice or remain forever silenced. A few days after our tender exchanges and silent glances and soft touches, Bryce and I found ourselves seated in a quiet, sunlit cafe in the heart of town, a neutral haven where whispered truths could unfold without the weight of expectation. The cafe, with its rustic wooden tables and the muted hum of conversation, provided the perfect backdrop for a dialogue that would forever alter the contours of my inner life. As we sat across from one another, the air thick with anticipation and unspoken sentiments, Bryce's eyes searched mine with a determined vulnerability that belied his usually confident demeanor. There was no preamble, no dance of vague hints, just an earnest urgency to lay bare the depths of his heart. With a steady voice, he began to speak, each word carefully chosen, yet trembling with raw honesty. "I've been carrying something with me," he confessed, his gaze unwavering as it held mine captive. "Every moment we've shared, every quiet smile and accidental touch has awakened something inside me that I can no longer ignore." His tone was both resolute and tender, a blend of clarity and uncertainty that struck a chord deep within me. As he continued, Bryce spoke of his longing for a life unburdened by convention, a life where vulnerability was not a weakness, but a gateway to genuine connection. His revelations painted a picture of a man who had long fought against the confines of routine and fear, a man willing to risk everything for the promise of a transformative love. Listening to him, I felt a stirring of my own suppressed desires. His words resonated like a mirror reflecting back the parts of me I had hidden away for so long. I recalled the moments in which the familiar seemed to crumble beneath the weight of unexpressed emotions. "I feel it too," I admitted softly, the admission hanging in the delicate space between us. Every day, the pull between the life I've always known and the possibility of something more grows stronger. In that heartfelt exchange, the cafe seemed to dissolve into a realm where time paused and only our truths remained. Bryce's confession was not merely a declaration of passion, it was an invitation to embrace uncertainty, to challenge the boundaries of a life carefully curated, yet silently yearning for change. His candid words lit a spark of courage in me, urging me to confront the fears that had long held me captive in a comfortable but stifling routine. In that moment, our conversation became a quiet revolution, a turning point where the certainty of the past gave way to the exhilarating uncertainty of the future. The rawness of our confessions mingled with the delicate aroma of freshly brewed coffee and the gentle hum of the cafe, creating a memory that would forever be etched in the fabric of my soul. In the quiet intimacy of our shared home, a tension had been simmering beneath the surface, a tension that could no longer be ignored. One evening, as the muted glow of the setting sun filtered through our living room, I found myself standing before Robert, heart pounding with the weight of unspoken truths. The familiar space, once a sanctuary of comfort and predictability, had transformed into a stage for an inevitable reckoning. Robert sat on the edge of our well worn sofa, his expression a mixture of concern and resignation. The silence between us was heavy, laden with the unvoiced questions that had haunted me for days. I took a deep breath, summoning the courage to shatter the fragile calm that had defined our life together. Robert, I began softly, my voice trembling yet determined, I need to tell you something that has been tearing me apart. His eyes, warm and steady as ever, invited me to speak without interruption, yet the unspoken fear in their depths betrayed the gravity of the moment. I explained how, over the past few weeks, a part of me had awakened, a part that had felt the stirrings of a passion and longing I never knew existed. I spoke of Bryce's unexpected presence, of the way his candid words and subtle gestures had ignited something deep within me. Each word was a dagger of honesty, aimed at the core of our once unassailable bond. Robert listened in quiet disbelief as I laid bare the inner turmoil that had grown with every passing day. The home that had once been our fortress now felt like a crucible where our truths were laid bare. His face, etched with lines of both sorrow and understanding, flickered with emotions I struggled to decipher: hurt, confusion, yet an unmistakable glimmer of hope for a future unburdened by pretense. I never imagined, he murmured, voice heavy with regret, that our love could be tested this way. The conversation evolved into a painful, raw dialogue, each of us confronting the delicate balance between familiarity and the need for change. I acknowledged the security Robert had provided, the gentle rhythm of our life that had nurtured me through so many ordinary days. Yet I could no longer deny the restless call of something new, a yearning for transformation that both terrified and exhilarated me. As tears welled in his eyes, Robert reached out, his touch tentative but sincere. In that moment, we realized that love, in its truest form, is not static. It evolves, demands honesty, and sometimes it must adapt to the shifting landscapes of our hearts. In the days that followed the storm of confessions and heart wrenching confrontations, I found myself standing at a crossroads where every step promised both uncertainty and the potential for renewal. The night after my conversation with Robert, I wandered through the hushed streets of our town, the only sound the soft whisper of my footsteps against ancient cobblestones. Under the watchful glow of a solitary street lamp, I felt an undeniable pull, a magnetic call towards exploring the parts of me that had been long dormant, waiting for the courage to awaken. At dawn, I sought refuge in a modest studio filled with canvases, brushes, and vibrant splashes of color. Here, in this safe haven of creativity, I began to channel the tumult that churned within me into art. Every stroke of my brush on the blank canvas became a quiet act of rebellion against a past that no longer felt entirely mine. I lost myself in the wild freedom of creation, discovering that each burst of color was not just a representation of my inner chaos, but a testament to the beauty of transformation. The art was raw and unfiltered, a mirror reflecting the truth that even in moments of pain, there lies an opportunity for reinvention. Alongside my creative awakening, I started to explore the world through a new lens by attending workshops on painting, meditation, and even psychology. Each session peeled away another layer of the person I thought I had been, replacing the comfortable cadence of routine with a symphony of diverse experiences. I delved into books that challenged my understanding of love, self worth, and the fluidity of the human heart, allowing my thoughts to dance freely between the realms of logic and emotion. This journey was not without moments of loneliness. The thrill of discovery was occasionally shadowed by memories of what I once had, and the tender care of Robert that had once been my sanctuary. Yet as the seasons shifted, so too did the contours of my spirit. I learned to embrace the paradox of vulnerability, the simultaneous beauty and terror of baring one's soul to both possibility and risk. Each day, I grew more attuned to the delicate balance between honoring my past and daring to reimagine my future. The lessons etched into every brushstroke and whispered through every page of my diary reminded me that life's most profound changes are often quiet revolutions, unfolding gradually and with quiet intensity. Now, as I stand at the threshold of a transformed self, I am both tender and unyielding, a woman reborn from the interplay of love, loss, and self discovery. The echoes of Bryce's sincere confessions and Robert's unwavering care remain intertwined in my heart, guiding me towards a future that is both uncertain and brimming with promise. I have learned that renewal is not a destination, but a journey, a continuous dance between who we were and who we choose to become. And as I step forward into the light of a new day, I carry with me the fierce hope that no matter how winding the path, every moment of self discovery brings me closer to the truest version of my soul. In the quiet hours of a crisp morning, as the mist began to recede from the sleepy streets of our town, I found myself standing at a precipice of possibility. The tumult of the past weeks had gradually softened into a gentle hum, a steady reminder of the transformation that had reshaped every corner of my heart. It was as if the raw edges of my old life had been smoothed by the tender touch of newfound courage, leaving behind a canvas ready to be painted with the colors of hope and renewal. The conversations, confessions, and confrontations of recent days still echoed in my mind, but they no longer carried the weight of insurmountable sorrow. Instead, they had become stepping stones toward a richer understanding of who I was and who I wished to become. I recalled the lingering warmth of Bryce's sincere eyes, the resonant honesty of our shared moments, and even the quiet pain of Robert's gentle acceptance. Each memory was a thread in the tapestry of a life reborn, a delicate yet resilient design crafted by the interplay of passion, regret, and the enduring quest for authenticity. As I walked along the familiar boardwalk at dawn, the rhythmic pulse of the ocean served as both a metaphor and a literal companion to my journey. The salty breeze whispered encouragement, reminding me that life, much like the tides, was ever changing and beautifully unpredictable. I embraced the quiet determination that had bloomed within me, a resolve to weave the lessons of the past into the fabric of my future. Every step forward was a deliberate act of self affirmation, a promise to honor my desires without forsaking the tender truths of my past. In that luminous moment, standing between the memories of what once was and the promise of what could be, I felt an overwhelming sense of liberation. I had learned that true transformation does not erase the past but enriches it, adding depth and clarity to every experience. With each breath, I welcomed the uncertainty of tomorrow, understanding that every new day carried the potential for joy, sorrow, and everything in between, all integral parts of a life lived fully. And so, as the first rays of sunlight spilled over the horizon, I stepped forward into a world that was both familiar and startlingly new, ready to embrace the endless dance of hope, loss, and the eternal pursuit of self discovery. In the months that followed my awakening to life's uncertain beauty, I found myself navigating a realm that was as unpredictable as it was exhilarating. The echoes of past confessions and heartfelt confrontations had settled into a quiet cadence, a soft undertone in the symphony of my everyday existence. Each day now unfolded like a new chapter, filled with small yet profound moments that reaffirmed the lessons I had learned about love, loss, and the transformative power of vulnerability. I began to see my world with a clarity that was both startling and liberating. Mornings were no longer just a series of routine rituals, but a deliberate pursuit of moments that nurtured my soul. I immersed myself in creative projects, venturing into painting and writing with a fervor that surprised even me. Each brushstroke on canvas and every word on paper became a dialogue with my inner self, a conversation that bridged the gap between the past and the promise of tomorrow. In the quiet sanctuary of my newfound hobbies, I discovered that embracing uncertainty was not about relinquishing control, but about opening my heart to the endless possibilities of growth. Relationships, too, took on a richer, more layered meaning. Bryce's presence, once a spark of unanticipated passion, evolved into a complex tapestry of moments that challenged and inspired me. Our interactions grew more nuanced, shifting from the fervor of early confessions to a mature understanding of each other's desires and limitations. Our shared glances and whispered confidences were no longer shrouded in the haze of infatuation alone, but were imbued with respect for the journeys that had brought us here. Yet, even as a new chapter with Bryce unfolded, I maintained an honest dialogue with Robert, our conversations now steeped in mutual acceptance and the bittersweet recognition that sometimes love must transform to survive.